to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be turning this rather battered and broken Han Solo in Carbonite block into a rather cool custom with a sort of solid back panel and some lights. Now this Carbonite block was sent to me quite recently and it was in a really sorry state when it arrived here. It was missing a big chunk of one side and most of the bottom. It looks like someone had trodden on it and sort of those pieces have been snapped off and lost into the mists of time. And if you want to see the process of me actually fixing this up, then you need to watch episode 8 of On the Cutting Mat, which is an exclusive series of videos I record for my Patreons and YouTube channel members. If you want to become a Patreon or channel member, it costs as little as £1 a month, and I will put the links in the description as to how you do that, and you'll be able to see that process along with a whole load of other videos and exclusive content that I film for my Patreons and channel members. So today, what are we going to do? Well, we are going to take this repaired Carbonite block and I want to make it look a little bit more movie accurate. So I want to add some flashing lights to one of the panels. I want to add a back to it as well, and if there's time I also want to make a little sort of stand for it so that it actually floats above the ground and we can have Boba Fett standing by it with it floating with a little flashing light on the side. Now I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do all of these things, so let's just get on with the project and see what happens. So this is the Carbonite block, and as I say, when I first got it, it was missing most of this side and most of the bottom, and I've rebuilt that and repainted it and sort of retextured it and put some stickers on, and you can see the end result is actually quite a nice displayable piece. But I want to take this a little bit further. What I want to do is add some lights to this panel, because if you look at the footage of the original Carbonite block as you see it in the movies, it's got some flashing lights in this panel, a green flashing light, some little white ones, and then just a tiny light in this one. And I think it'd be quite good fun to actually make this look more like you see it in the movie. So we'll replace these stickers with some custom ones that I've already made for a previous project. But I want to also sort of cut some holes in this and put some lights and a switch and stuff inside this. And I think that would look pretty good, and it'll make it look really nice on display if you have this standing next to Boba Fett. Yeah, I think that's going to look pretty cool. So the first thing we need to do is actually make a back panel for this so that everything can be hidden inside. And I've already made a start on that, and all I've done for that is I've cut this piece of 1mm styrene sheet to the correct size. You can see that's going to fit in pretty nicely. It's fairly straightforward to do this because on the inside of this Carbonite block there are some little ledges. You can see there's these sort of pillars between each of the panels, and those are about 1mm sort of back from the back surface. So what I've done is I've cut this so that it just rests onto those, and you can see that fits really quite well. But we need to make sure that that sort of stays in place, and I was thinking I could do some clips or something like that, but actually the simpler option is to use some magnets. We've got these nice notches at either end that we could stick a magnet on the inside of that, on the inside of that, and if I put a sort of a pillar of plastic at either end, we can then stick a magnet on those, and this panel should then clip in place fairly easily. So I've got myself some magnets. I picked these up online, they're pretty cheap to buy, and I'm just going to use those. I'm going to glue one on either end, and as I say, let's make a piece of styrene to stick up there that we can stick these new magnets onto, and that will be the first part of this project, just to get the back panel in place. Once we've got that fitted, we can then start sorting out some electronics for it. So here is the back plate now. You can see I put these sort of little tabs of 2mm styrene. I've just plastic modded those in place, and onto that I have glued two of the magnets, and then inside the carbonite block I've glued a magnet at either end. So now this panel should just clip in place. And it does, and that's a pretty good fit. I'm very happy with how that's gone together. So you can now see we've got essentially a solid carbonite block. Even that is actually quite good for display. It means it just looks a little bit more solid. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But this was done for a reason, because now what I want to do is put some lights inside, or at least one light to get this panel lit up and flashing. So how are we going to do that? Well, I've got some bits already here. I've got a flashing LED. I actually picked up a green flashing LED for a recent project, and I was going to put that inside, but I realized what I need to do is actually put a white flashing LED in there, and then we can make a little panel and color it green, so that we end up with a green sort of square here flashing like it has in the movie, and then we can have maybe a couple of little holes just to have some white light coming through, so we get sort of two colors for the price of one. So I've actually swapped that out, and I've now got myself a white LED along with a whole load of other pieces that I need to get this project working. So in here we have a little battery holder, and we have a switch, because I want to be able to switch this on and off. I was originally intending to sort of cut a hole in this and have the switch sort of sticking through the back, but I realized then that if I did that, you wouldn't be able to put the carbonite block flat on the ground. So I'm actually just going to hide the switch inside. So to switch it on and off, you'll have to remove this panel, but now it's magnetized. That's going to be easy to do. We have a battery holder here, which is going to hold this battery, which is a 2032, a CR2032 battery, and that should be plenty to run one of these bulbs for a very long time. So all of that has got to be sort of fitted inside, but before we even get to fitting that, I'm going to cut some holes into this carbonite block. I want to cut a little square and then do a couple of little holes. So quite a few years back I made a custom version of Slave 1, and I recreated these stickers but in the sort of more modern Kenner style, and part of that process was remaking these stickers for the carbonite block. So I printed out some of those. If you want this file, you can get it from toy-polloi.com, and I'm going to use this for my guide as to where I want the holes, because if we look at this panel here, this is the panel that I want to do. On the carbonite block you see in the movies, you have one panel like this with a little green sort of flashing screen on it, and all of the rest of the panels are like this sort of more simplified one. So I'm going to make this look exactly like that. So I'm just going to have this panel with this green panel on it, and all of the rest will be like this. So I've got to take all these stickers off, which is no problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of these out, stick it on here, and use it as a guide as to where I cut my holes and where I put the little holes through. And then once that's all sort of sorted out, I can then sort of modify this, and I'll cut out that little green bit, and that we'll just have a little hole there, and we can stick that over the final thing. But this is going to be my sort of guide for where I put the hole. So first up, I've got to remove some of these stickers. I'll cut one of these out, stick it on, and then I'll try and carefully cut out a hole that matches this. So a tiny little square, and then a few little sort of pinprick holes just to get a different colour light. And once we've done that, we'll then have to stick a bit of clear perspex or polycarbonate behind it, so that the light has something to shine through, and we can then colour that polycarbonate as well with marker pens. So it's a fair bit to do, but it's going to be good fun. So let me remove this sticker, replace it with one of these, and get cutting the holes. So with some careful cutting and a little bit of filing, you see I've now got a little square hole there which should line up with the green panel on my sticker, and a couple of holes as well which will line up with other sort of key points on that sticker. I basically drilled holes sort of around the edge of the square that I wanted to cut out, and then I've used my square needle file to just sort of carefully file it out, and you can see that's pretty neat. It's as neat as I can get at this scale. Now what I want to do is stick a piece of clear Perspex or polycarbonate sheet on the back of that so that I can colour it with some marker pens, because I want that piece obviously to be green, and I'm going to have one of those white and one of those red of the little holes. So I have some polycarbonate sheet here which I bought for another project. This is 1mm thick. I'm just going to cut a small amount of that, and then I'm going to give it a mild sand on one side, just using some very fine grit sandpaper so it's not so clear, so it has a little bit of frosting to it, and I will glue that in place. I'm not quite sure which glue to use at the moment. I have some glue which is called canopy glue, which is the glue that you use on model kits when you're gluing the clear plastic canopies onto the vehicles, because it dries incredibly clear. So I think I will probably use some canopy glue just in case it sort of splodges onto any parts of it. But let's get a piece of this cut and that's sanded, and we'll stick it in place and see how it looks, and then we can colour it once it's stuck in, just using marker pens on the back side of it, and then we can start dealing with the lights. But I'm very happy with how that's going so far. I think it's going to look really cool. So as you can see, that is now glued in place. The canopy glue starts to go clear as it dries. At the moment it's fairly well held in place, but it will clear off over the next sort of couple of hours, and you can see now we've got that little sort of frosted panel just behind the holes that I have cut there. We now need to colour them. So I want to colour the square part green and the dot next to it red. I've just got some marker pens here, and I will colour that in on the back side of this, and we'll let that dry fully, and then we can get on with sorting out the lights. I've already started making some brackets for that, and I'll show you in a minute how those work. But yeah, let's get these coloured up, and then we can let all of that dry while we do the lighting and the electronics. So here is a green marker pen. I'm just going to carefully colour behind where I want that bit green, so it's just about there. It may take a few coats to get this as sort of thick green as I want. I think that should work pretty well. Hopefully from this side you won't particularly notice that it's green. No, it still looks fairly sort of white in tone. So yeah, a few coats of that. I'll do the red as well. As I say, we'll let everything dry. Now we come to the wiring inside, which is going to be fairly simple, because we're just going to have this one flashing white LED. That needs to be connected to this little battery holder, which, as I said, is going to hold this battery, which is a CR2032 battery. And then we need a switch in between that so that I can switch it on and off, and easily sort of take the back off using the magnets. So it's a fairly simple circuit. The most complicated bit is probably getting the LED held in the right place. So I've made a little mark just on the inside here where the LED needs to be relative to the hole in the little panel on the side. So what we're going to do is make a little mounting for that LED. Now the LEDs I'm using are 5mm in diameter, so I've very quickly just drilled a 5mm hole in this piece of styrene, and that will hold the LED quite snugly. So I need to just plastic weld that in the sort of roughly the right place, which I think is going to be about there. And then we can do a very simple bit of circuit and soldering. So we need to cut this red cable to add the switch on, and then we will connect the rest to the positive side of this little battery holder, and then solder the black onto the negative, and then we can stick those sort of onto this back plate. And I was just going to stick those on using some of these double-sided sellotape pads. Really, it's a very simple circuit. So let's get this plastic welded in place in the right position, and then we can do a very small amount of soldering. Right, that's everything soldered, and I've now stuck it in place just using some sticky pads. The LED is not actually stuck in place, that's just pushed through the hole, and it seems to hold in place pretty firmly. And then yeah, there's just a little sticky pad under the switch and under the battery. And you can now see, if I switch the switch, the LED lights. This is an incredibly simple circuit. As I say, you've basically got a battery connected to a light, and there's a switch on the positive side of the light, and that is it. I probably could have cut this cable a little bit shorter. It's just trying to stick out the side there, so I'm going to try and bend that one in. I don't think it's really going to make much difference. Once this is inside the rest of the carbonite block, it's not going to cause an issue. Maybe I even just put a bit of tape there just to hold that down. But that is the basic setup of this. So we can now do a quick test. This is the front of the block, and it should just magnetize in place, and hopefully everything lines up. And there you go. We've got a little flashing panel at the front. This is probably one of the most silly things that I've actually tried to make, because it's utterly pointless really. But I just wanted to make this look like the original block. So there you go. It's got a flashing panel. You can see there's a little red dot and then a slightly faded white dot. Maybe I need to move the LED a slight amount, but that's actually working pretty well. So I'm just going to tidy my desk, and then we'll sort out putting some new stickers on this. As you can see, I've removed the old stickers. We need to put the more screen accurate ones on, and then that should look pretty cool. But I'm very happy with how that works, and this magnetized back is very good. It just clips in place. Yeah, that's a very nice fit. So I just unclip that, and I can switch this off, put it back together, and we've got the non-flashing version of the Carbonite block. But yeah, let me tidy my desk, and then we'll put the stickers back on, see how it looks with all the stickers in place. And here we go, here's the block with all of the stickers on. I think it's looking really rather nice. I even managed to cut a very small piece of the polycarbonate just to put in that little window there. The polycarbonate stuck on the inside was just too far back. It looked like it was really sunken, so cutting a very small piece of it, I was able to push that into the little hole I'd made. So that panel now looks like it's got a sort of glass front to it. So let's put this on and see how it looks. I just have to take the back off and switch the switch inside, clip that on. And there we go, we've now got a flashing panel, and you can just about see the other lights flashing as well. I'm really very happy with that. And at the start I said I was going to try and make a stand as well, and I've had a go at that. It's not turned out 100% how I wanted, and it's not perfect, but it will do the job. I used a piece of the polycarbonate sheet and then heated it up with a hot air gun to add a couple of folds in it to make a C shape. I've ended up with this, and as I say, yeah, it's not perfect, there's a few marks on it, but it actually doesn't work too badly. We can put the carbonite block on that and you can see it's floating. If I bring in one of the guards, it's about the right height as well, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's set this all up and see what it looks like with the rest of the figures. And there we go, there is the block now in a little diorama with Boba Fett and a couple of Bespin guards keeping an eye on the carbonite block. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It was one of those sort of silly projects that I'd had an idea a while ago that I wanted to sort of make something like this just to make it more screen accurate. It's taken me a few hours work, and yeah, I'm very happy with the results. It's by no means perfect, but it just adds that little bit of detail to this otherwise fairly boring carbonite block. You can see here that my panel looks pretty good when you get close up. The replacement panels that I put here don't seem to line up perfectly. They do if you look on the side like that, but that's because the original panels are slightly sunken, and the ones that I made on my replacement part of this very damaged carbonite block are actually flush to the surface. So side on, I think that works really well. When you look from a slight angle, it looks like this panel is a little bit raised up, but yeah, I'm happy with that, how that works. And it's incredibly easy to switch off, as I showed you. You just have to open it up, switch the switch inside, and the magnets hold it all together. It's a really sort of fun little project there. I like projects like this. There's no sort of right or wrong way of doing it. I'm just sort of messing around and turning something that was a broken bit of a Star Wars toy into my own little version, my own little custom version that I can put on display here with the rest of my fixed up and repaired figures. And it's been a fun couple of hours work. If you want to have a go at this yourself, then obviously all you need is a carbonite block, and the stickers that I've stuck on this were some stickers that I made for a custom version of Slave 1, so you can get that file from toy-polloi.com. There's a whole video on putting custom stickers on a Slave 1 and even putting custom lights inside it, so do go and check that out. And if you want to see how I fixed up this carbonite block, as I said at the start of this video, you need to become a Patreon or YouTube channel member, and you get access to an exclusive series of videos called On the Cutting Mat, where I do all sorts of other fixes and repairs to a whole range of toy lines. So I'll put links to that in the description as well. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.